So welcome you guys to the team call. The topic tonight is how to treat your business like a business. It's going to be fairly elemental and basic, but definitely there's going to be some nuggets for those of you who are sort of intermediate level and leaders. So without further ado, let me tell you something else too. I'm going to blow through this super fast. And then I want to turn it over to some Q&A, and I want to let Emily answer some questions about the sneak peek that starts tomorrow, because it's really not too late tonight to still invite and add a person or two. So I'll have Emily answer questions about that. And then Jen Fuji and I just finished the new coach training, the group, the closed group, and we had some great participation and some winners that we want to shout out and recognize tonight on the team call. So as soon as I blow through the PowerPoint presentation, I'll go ahead, turn it over to Emily and talk about our winners and answer Q&A. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up the presentation. Okay, so treating your business like a business. And go ahead and unmute yourself to answer this. With the exception of Jen Fuji, who else, if anyone, on this call right now is a business owner of a different business, not the self-employment of the Team Beachbody business, but is anyone else owns a company, runs a business? Okay. So the first thing is, what are the three vitals? And I feel like probably every single one of you could rattle off the tip of your tongue right now what the three vital behaviors are, but if not, that's okay. And you might be wondering, why would I pick this graphic of paintbrushes for the three vital behaviors? And the reason I did is because I am an artist, and I always start with a big, fat, wide, broad brush. And I mark out the big lines. And they're very broad strokes, but they're very important, and they're very general. And the painting doesn't really come to life or make tons and tons of sense until I can get in there with finer brushes and different brushes and different colors and darker colors and more contrast. So the vital behaviors, in my mind, are like your broad brushes. You never stop doing them. They give shape to your business. They're absolutely essential. And but on this call, I want to first start there, but then quickly get into some of the other paintbrushes in your palette. So the three vital behaviors, in case you don't know, are invite, invite, invite. Every time in my team page I say the word invite, I always put it in all capital letters because it is one of our vital behaviors. So when we have a sneak peek coming around, or anything like that, I always capitalize those words. It's a vital behavior. It's a behavior that we're supposed to be doing every day. If you listen to Christine Dwyer's Platinum Edge podcast, she was like tough loving all of the coaches on there, and she was like, do you really invite every day? Do you really talk about our company to someone every single day? Not just post a picture of yourself doing a workout, but do you actually invite or talk about our product? And then being a product of the product, of course, I mean, that there's no one on our team that doesn't believe in that. There's no one on our team that doesn't authentically want to have integrity. And I would say most of our new coaches say to us something along the lines of, well, I don't really want to talk about the business yet until I've experienced, Shakeology for a couple weeks or for a month. Like, they really want to have integrity when they talk about it. And then do PD, do personal development. So any questions on any of those three vital behaviors? Those are very broad strokes. Coaches often say to me, well, what does inviting actually look like? So I think that's a pretty common question. And because we are recording and others will listen to the replay, I will just kind of add on that I think if you can reach out, and I talked with Amy about this and Julie today and Nicole, if you can reach out and add significant value to two people every single day. Now, you're not talking directly about Beachbody and our products, but you're just adding value to them, being genuinely interested in their lives. That typically comes back around like a boomerang, and later on down the road, there is an opportunity to invite. So if you're doing that type of adding value to two people a day behavior, what happens in your inbox and on your cell phone and in your email inbox, what happens is people that you've been adding value to for months and months and months and months come back and ask questions to you about our product. So it's kind of a breath of fresh air for those of us that don't feel salesy. So specifically inviting and talking to people about our company, but also specifically reaching out to people and not talking about our company. So that's what I think of when I think about really doing my 3 vital behaviors. And I think our team and all the leaders on our team are so good about enforcing these behaviors into their downlines and into all of y'all. And especially, like, you guys totally are doing your personal development, and you've all got your podcasts on your cell phones, and you've all got your earbuds, and you've all scheduled that in. So I think our team is really on track for these behaviors. So what is your identity? So first, you really need to see yourself as a boss. And for those of us that aren't Jen Fuji, who owns her own gym, like, that's hard to do. That's hard to see yourself as the CEO and an entrepreneur. And I remember feeling really funny when I started to refer to myself as an entrepreneur. And you guys, I didn't graduate college, so I went the mom route. And I felt like if I started to identify with this being a CEO and being an entrepreneur and a business person, I thought people would scoff at me, or maybe be like, well, what are your credentials? Or, did you study business in school? But you guys, nobody does. And so what if they do? If they do, then you say, no, with this opportunity, anyone can be a boss. Anyone can be a CEO. So my encouragement, if you've never really envisioned yourself, looked at yourself as the boss of your own future, the CEO of your own company, even if you're a baby coach, I'm not saying go start your team page. I'm not saying that at all, but brainstorm about the day that it happened and your role as the leader of an organization, and really seeing yourself as the owner of your own business and in control of your destiny. So one of your takeaways, one of your call to actions, one of your homework assignments is, if you've never said it, start identifying yourself as an entrepreneur when you talk to people. Because once you do, you stand a little taller, figuratively speaking. Doesn't matter if you spend the day changing diapers, or you spend the day doing laundry or scrubbing toilets, you're a boss. And you have permission to call yourself a CEO, even if you didn't finish college. Okay, so then your, let's see, that was perception of self. So the next point under your identity is your cover letter. So this is, we don't need to go into any kind of social media lecture here or training. You guys do those. Some of you are starting one now, and we're always doing social media training because it's so vital to the business, and it's the vehicle for all of us. But I would just say, if you haven't considered doing a professional or semi-professional cover photo for yourself of your headshot, I would encourage you to do so. That's something our local team did a few Super Saturdays ago. And even if you don't know or don't want to hire out or don't want to pay for a professional photographer, you can get a good amateur photographer to take photos. I liken this point here, you guys, to I'm a manager of Group X programs, and I recently went into work, and the general manager handed me a yellow Post-it note, and it said yoga instructor and a phone number and the name. And I took it off of my fingertip and I put it in the trash can because I was like, I'm sorry, this is not someone that I want to have work for me. If their idea of a cover letter, their idea of a first impression, maybe they're the best yoga instructor in the world, but it was that initial presentation of the Post-it note that I was like, I'm not shopping, I'm not interested. So since social media, without going into any social media training with this call, since it's such a primary vehicle, and I think if I asked for a raise of hands, you would all say it's your primary vehicle for running this business. Since it's so important, really think about your profile picture as being like your cover letter and the content on your page being like your resume. And then this is going to sound a little bit like a contradiction to what I just said, but allow allow the vulnerability, allow yourself to be imperfect. So I know I'm saying clean it up, have a beautiful, professional looking photo. It's your resume, it's your cover letter, but then also show your flaws, show your warts, so show that you're relatable and real. And let the business become the backdrop of your presentation to the world, your presentation on social. Let it be not the foreground, but the background of who you are. Some of you have heard me use this analogy before, probably many of you, but when I have solicitors come to our front door, as soon as I hear the doorbell ring and the knock on the door and I'm like, it's a solicitor, I can tell. I instantly am thinking, who am I going to say no to? Unless it's like a Boy Scout selling candy or like a kid. I can't say no to the kids. But I'm like, who's trying to sell me some vacuum cleaner? Like I'm instantly walking towards the door ready to say no. And then another example is there was this youth pastor at my kids' church that was like always trying to get the kids to do to go to the next event and to show up to youth group. And my kids didn't want to go, and they were already involved with Young Life at their school, and our church is far away, and they just were not going to go, and I wasn't going to make them go. And every time we went to church, the youth pastor was like looking for us and like always making a beeline to come because I've got 3 kids. So that's like half the youth group right there. So I started to feel like when I started to try to sit in other places and kind of avoid eye contact. And my point in talking about the solicitor at the door and the youth pastor at the church is just that if our business becomes the foreground of what people see, then it can be like that. It can be very solicitous and very off-putting, and it's the opposite of how we want people to feel. So rather than shirking away and maybe unfollowing us, we want them to the opposite, feel absolutely and totally drawn to us and really curious about what's behind them. What is in the backdrop of their life? Why are they so cool? So why are they so happy and healthy? And why do they always hang out with good people and say good things with value? Okay, moving on. Next slide. Almost done. There's only a few slides. Be organized. Okay, so I was a D student in high school, and then in college I took a Study Skills 101 class, and it turned me into a straight A student. So it wasn't that I was stupid, it was that I didn't have the organizational skills and the study skills to be my potential. And literally that class changed my life. And so there are some tools with the business, some organizational tools that can do that, that are like study tools that can make you guys better coaches. So all of you guys that talk to me often have been hearing probably too much about the 5 buckets, but just in a quick nutshell, took a training recently we were told, and by the way, there is a 5-bucket training. You guys can look into it. I can tell you more about it later. But here's the takeaways. Have 5 buckets. Each bucket represents a priority in your life. Your first bucket should be your family. Your first bucket should be your family. And so just to give you an example, my bucket number 1 is my family. My bucket number 2 is the team Play Hard. And then I have an international fitness and downtown athletic club. It's basically all my teaching that I do, all the exercise that I do and prepare for. And then there's my master training, and then there's art. So that's my 5 buckets. And our international fitness is not just in teaching, it's also the management job that I have. So those are my 5 buckets. And I'll admit to you guys, and some of you know that I've struggled with, as the size of the team has grown and you guys are such a priority to me, I've really struggled with my priorities, and really struggled with keeping the balls in the air without letting my family be what is always taking the short end of the stick. Because you guys, this business can consume you in even a bad way. It can be consuming in a bad way if you aren't organized and allow it to. So this training helped me a lot. So I just want to share it with you. And again, it doesn't matter if you use this calendar. It doesn't matter if you use, I'm not saying this calendar is better than Google Calendar. I'm not saying it's better than Franklin Covey or anything else out there, but having a system where you're color coordinating your priorities and not allowing buckets to cross over. So the best example that I remember from the training is if you're a mom at a t-ball game, that's red bucket. And your cell phone rings and it's a coach, and that's your blue bucket, you don't answer that phone. You're in your red bucket. You don't get to dabble in blue bucket. There's no crossing over. So basically this calendar, I am going to do a bigger training on it or on calendar use later this week. But basically it allows me to, with my husband, do a brain dump of everything that needs to get done in the week. Business related, family related, all buckets related, everything related. Jesse needing shots, you name it, it goes on there. And then the things that have an appointment that have to be done on certain days get populated in the days. But the cool thing about this calendar, you guys, is, well, then I can color coordinate with a marker which bucket they go to. So at the end of the day, I can see, at the end of the week, I can see what, did I have any red? Did I have family time? Did I have any orange? Am I doing any art? So I can see if my time is honoring my priorities, and that's what I want for you guys. But the cool thing about this calendar, and you don't have to, you won't get a really good look there, but there's the brain dump at the top, then there's the middle, which is the dialed in schedule, and at the bottom, there's all these sections for lists. So I have a list of who I invited to our sneak peek. I have a list of all my business prospects. I have a list of all the people that I have in my challenge group right now that I want to be tagging and reaching out to and checking on if they fall off the bandwagon. I have an empty list of my upcoming challenge group because I haven't started promoting it yet. And I have a list of social media ideas and Periscope ideas and blogging ideas. And I have a list of personally sponsored coaches that I feel I need to be checking in with more regularly that I've been not in. So it has that space there. So that's another little tip for the leaders, because I know some of this content of the call is more elemental, but for those of you that are leaders, that last little thing that I said about having a list of personally sponsored coaches that I feel like I've just not been connecting with enough and that I haven't been reaching out to enough that's a new list for me. So routine activities. So here's an example, you guys, for whatever your rank is, that routine becomes habit, right? So here's an example of, you should have daily routines, weekly routines, monthly routines, and quarterly routines. I know that's a lot. Daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. Amy, today when we were talking, she's like, I really want to explore, like, how a coach does spend their time. So let me give you some examples, and it does depend on your rank and how big your team is and what your schedule is and how motivated you are. I mean, obviously, again, you're the boss. It depends on you. But on a daily level, you're doing your vital behaviors. You're posting in a challenge group. You're posting on social media platforms, at least one. And you're adding value to 2 people. There, boom, that's your daily. Checking your team page. Plugging into your team page. Or pages, those of you that are on a couple. Weekly, your weekly ones. Sponsorship drill down, leaders. Wednesday night, sponsorship drill down, checking, do I have any coaches going inactive that would affect my rank or the rank above me? Just knowing, having a pulse on your team, you have to be looking in your sponsorship drill down. Doing leader check-ins, like weekly scheduled meetings with your leaders. That's a good weekly behavior. Connecting with your Success Club, not Success Club, but your Success Partner weekly on Zoom or on phone. Doing getting started rights is one I put in 2 different categories, 2 monthly and weekly, depending on you and the size of your organization. National Wake Up Call is a weekly routine, but also leaders, so is doing a roll call with your downline, asking them for their takeaways. And I know you guys do this, but for those of you up and coming leaders, as you look at what a leader does, they're not only listening to the National Wake Up Call, but they're also checking in with their whole downline, asking for roll call. Who's heard it and what are their takeaways? Being a part of a team call, doing your recognition of your team, emailing or texting your customer leads. That's another weekly calendar behavior that should be on your calendar, because in your alerts, you should have like 3 new customers a week, right? If you're Emerald rank. So it's good.
Hey, how many days are you waiting to do that? What do you recommend?
I just try to do it on Thursdays for the weekend.
Okay, I didn't know if you waited like if you waited 3 or 4 days before you tried to contact him after you get that lead, if you found something that worked best. So you're just kind of doing it on Thursdays no matter when you get them. Yes,
and Brian, I don't know that maybe there's a better way to do it. I've actually never really thought about it. Do you think waiting is less intrusive?
I didn't know. I usually wait about 3 to 5 days, but I mean, I haven't had much success. I didn't know if anybody else out there has had better success on feedback or just getting a reply at all from feeds, or I mean from leads, not feeds, but leads.
I get a reply sometimes. Do you copy their email and put it in the Facebook search?
Yeah, I try that.
And then you pay the $1 to pay the buck so that it goes into their real message box.
I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. We can talk about that later, though. I'll let you get back to your.
It's important. If you search in your alerts for your customers, you guys that are Emerald and higher, if you're new in your Emerald, when you become Emerald, you get customer leads. They show up in your alerts, and they have an email and a phone number. You can text them, you can email them, you can whatever. I look for them on Facebook with their email address, and then I send them a message, but I opt to pay the $1 so that it goes directly into their inbox. Otherwise, they just don't see it. Okay, so that's an example of weekly behaviors. Sponsorship drill down, leader check-ins, Success Partner Zooms, getting started right calls, national wake-up calls, team calls, recognition, emailing customers. I might have left some out. Monthly, you've got your getting started right call that you could do, that you have your new coach training that you can lead or draw your team up to, your uplines new coach training, your sneak peeks, your Emerald Minds. On a quarterly level, we have our Super Saturdays, diamond pushes, stuff like that. So those are things that once they become habit, you guys, you start with your buckets and your priorities and honor your priorities so that this business doesn't become a grind. It's supposed to give us freedom. It's supposed to give us joy. And so we have to keep those 5 buckets. And then making good habits like that study skills class that changed my GPA. And then lastly, having an office. Now, if you don't have a house that has an office space, I was talking to one of the coaches about this a couple of weeks ago. Heather and I were talking about it, and you don't have to have an exact office, but have a spot, whether it's your, table, or maybe it's your, sofa, but have a spot that is your work spot and where you get into your work zone and then know when you're going to unplug. Okay, moving on. I think this is the last. Yeah, this is the last. Oh, I wanted to say one more. Let me go back really quickly to, well, I don't have to go back to the slide, but on that 5 buckets thing, in my first marriage, when I first got married, we had like no money, and I didn't work. I was like the stay-home mom, and so my ex-husband would cash his paycheck, and we were so worried about budget that we would put cash in envelopes, like garbage bill, food, electric bill. Like, we literally had envelopes that had like labels on them, and like the money went in there. And weirdly, like when we finally stopped doing that system because we had more money, we're less concerned with it, weirdly it was like we suddenly had less money. But when we had those distinct envelopes, which is what I want you to think about your time, where you're spending your time, having those distinct buckets without all the crossing over and like dipping into, and when it's all a big hot mess, your calendar and how you spend your time, and you're not tracking it, and you can't actually go back and see where you're honoring your priorities and where you're not honoring your priorities. It's like how my ex-husband and I went from the envelope system into this checking account where all the money was just deposited, and all of a sudden, where's all the money? Where's it going? So, okay, now the last point is just the quick wrap up, and I just have to, this is a Trina Gray. It's not my, this is something that she teaches, reciprocity, that to treat your business like a business, which was the theme of the call. You want to, as you lead, as you become a great leader, as you are a great leader, you want to be, kind of branching out on your own and creating your own way and being your own business and being your own team and having your own culture. And that's the branches, and staying deeply rooted to the uplines and the support that you got your nourishment from. And so we will just end there. If there's any questions about the topic of, I'm going to stop my share. If there's any questions about the topic of treating your business like a business, I didn't know Bobby was on. Hi, Bobby. If there's any questions about treating your business like a business, let's have them right now. And I don't have to be the one that answers. There's lots of leaders on this call, so anyone can answer, and then we'll turn it over to Emily for sneak peek, and I'll announce the new coach training award winners.
I don't have a question. I just had a comment. When Ellen talks about how coaches spend their time and being your boss, and she goes over the daily and the weekly and the monthly and the yearly, like, it's so important to manage your time and be able to visualize that way and break it down. For sure. I think though, for the new coaches to know, to look at an Ellen and who breaks it up, like, I know in a year from now I'm going to do this, and I know in 6 months I'm going to do this. But for a new coach, like a Rebecca, she's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do next week. So like, that's totally okay. Or like Kristen, who was frustrated, and, to realize that that's all growth, and it just depends on where you are. And so that maybe right now you only can think a week ahead, but that's okay. That just to know that eventually your time becomes narrow, like Ellen talked about, and that will help you as you grow in your business to know that to how to divide and how the lens of your life evolves. But it's okay if you're not thinking, a month ahead right now. Maybe you're so new, you're like, I'm going to just get my posts done tomorrow. And that's my number one. And if I do that, I'm successful. I think that because as we grow our business, I know that I can't, for sure, with Ellen and like Brian and Emily and the people who've been around a little longer, like, we get bigger and we're still overwhelmed. think it's just important just to take a breath and like, okay, what do I have to do today sometimes, you know?
I would agree 100%. One of the biggest takeaways for me from Summit was definitely to have like non-negotiables and to kind of devise those for myself. So I have them up like right here. My computer's here. I have them up right here. I have 1 coach contact, 3 to 5 invites, personal development, social media growth, and a challenge group check-in every single day. And
Wow.
if I can go to bed at night and say, I have done these 5 non-negotiables, my day has been crazy, but I've still gotten those in, I'm like, okay, that was a success. So
Yeah, and then as you grow, your non-negotiables become bigger.
they're different.
Right, yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
yeah, exactly. And then you get to
for
grow,
yourself.
and then you can think a year ahead, like
Right.
where the Ellens and the Bryans and the Emilys and, you know, and Heather and whoever else is already thinking. But that if you're not a year ahead right now and you're planning, like just to be able to visualize, like, okay, one day, like Ellen said, I know I want a team page. To know that's out there, it's okay not to know how you're going to get there right now. And that's a great line, Emily. Like your non-negotiables just evolve.
They do.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so really quickly, let's see. The runner-ups for the new coach training that Fuji and I just finished were Rosa, who's Emily's baby, and Cassie, who is Kristen's baby. And Cassie's on. Where'd Cassie go? Did she get off? You're muted. Wait. Does she sound weird to you guys?
He sounds like a mouse.
Someone's been sucking helium.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I can't wait till she hears the replay. You're gonna have to type it. Kristen, I'm muting you. I'm muting you right now. Type it in the bar. Type it in the chat. You sound like you want helium.
Oh my God, my stomach hurts.
Shoot, I'm really sad that her audio is messed up because I wanted her to actually really talk. But so her coach Cassie won the honorary award, and I'm gonna send Jen and I with the earnings because we charge for that group, so it's not like it's coming out of our pocket, but we charge for that group and we provide the content, and then we give it back to those who do really well. And then Rosa was Rockstar Emily, so she's gonna get a small gift too. So I'm gonna send them fixates. Now, Kristen and Victoria were like ridiculous with, I mean, not only were they posted every day and did all of the homework, and it's a lot, but they, I mean, Victoria advanced to Emerald rank, right? And,
My coach.
and Kristen hasn't yet, but is like, you know, she's about to have a small army. And I don't know if you guys saw Kristen's post today in Team Play Hard, but you know, she has worked her butt off since she became a coach and had some good traction and did freaking everything you possibly could do. She hasn't missed a team call, the National Wake Up Call. She's a new coach training. She's ran a challenge group. She plugged into her upline and her upline and her upline and reached across. She got a success partner, Alexandra. She's made like $300 or something in a month in her first month as a coach. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing as we try to set new coaches up with the goal of having their Shakeology covered as sometimes being a lofty goal. So I wanted to make sure that you guys got either a planner pad or one of the boosts. So you can pick, you and Victoria. Okay. Without further ado, because Kristen can't speak, I wanted her to talk about that, but I want to turn it over to Emily to talk to us about the sneak peek. And wait, no, I shouldn't. Should I end the recording? Yes.